All right, let us move into the territory of law. There are no better folks on that subject than people I've known for a long time at the Wisconsin Institute for Law and Liberty. You know, you've gotten to know all of the players there. They've been on Vicky's show many times. I've talked to them, I can't tell you how many times. Every once in a while, I am honored to be a plaintiff or to be someone who is involved in a very important lawsuit, thanks to the good folks at the Wisconsin Institute for Law and Liberty who are suing government officials or what have you to either try to get information, shine light on a very important subject, or hopefully, as they have successfully done so many times, right a wrong. Dan Lennington joins us now. He is deputy counsel at the Wisconsin Institute for Law and Liberty. And we've got some very exciting news. If you didn't catch this earlier today, the Wisconsin Institute for Law and Liberty is our attorney in a legal action against the FBI. Dan, welcome to the Vicki McKenna Show. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me. Sun is shining, the stock market's up, and the Cubs are winning right now. So that's three good things.
Yeah, but I hate to be a bummer, but Dick Groat's dead. So there's that.
That's too bad. At least it's not Henry Aaron.
Again. It could be again. That's when you know you're having a bad day, Dan. That's, you know.
Oh, no.
You got to do that twice. Yes. Just quickly, I did that with rock and roll legend Gary Richrath on this very show back in several years ago. And I was talking about Gary Richrath on the air, and I said REO Speedwagon was coming to Madison. And I said, gosh, I hope Gary Richrath is there with them. And someone called up and said, he's been dead for 6 years. I said, all I could say was, I guess he won't be making this show. That's really all I could do. All right, to the serious business at hand. It's hard to believe, Dan, but it has been a month today since the horrible, nightmarish circumstance unfolded in Nashville, Tennessee at the Covenant Presbyterian school, private Christian school. Audrey Hale, a mass murderer, walked in with a gun, shot dead 3 elementary school students and 3 adults at that school. It has been a month, and still the manifesto that is tied to that event, Audrey Hale, who identified, a 28-year-old woman who identified as transgender, the FBI has yet to release that said manifesto, as well as the Nashville police. And we at the Star News Network filed a FOIA request, a Freedom of Information Act request, seeking to get that manifesto because we believe it's critical to the public's understanding of this horrible incident. We were rejected twice. We had sought expedited relief. And so now that the FBI continues to play these games, if you will, on the release of this very important information, we got the Wisconsin Institute of Law and Liberty involved. And as of today, we have appealed to the Department of Justice. Tell us a little bit about what happens in this legal process, if you would.
Well, yeah, this is the first, a lot of people, a lot of reporters have started complaining about the fact that this manifesto has not been released. And we are filing the first legal action in the nation to try to get access to it. As you asked, it has been a month. There's no criminal pending investigation that any reporter is aware of. And we've taken this action now that will allow the Department of Justice higher-ups to take a second look at this over the next 20 days. And if they affirm the decision of denial, meaning you're not going to get your record, then we are going to file a federal lawsuit on your behalf and on behalf of the Star News Network and the federal court in Nashville under the Freedom of Information Act to get a copy of this. We have seen shootings just recently. November 22nd, Walmart shooter in Virginia, manifesto released in 3 days. St. Louis shooter at a school, October 24th, manifesto released the next day. Michigan State campus shooter, February 13th, that manifesto was released within 3 weeks. We're now a month out, and the problem is, Matt, that when the government is not transparent, especially government with such a recently tarnished reputation as the FBI, it breeds public distrust and it fuels conspiracy theories. And I can't think of a good reason why the public ought not to know about the motivation of the killer, in this case, the person responsible for all the terror and mayhem. And, legislators are trying to pass laws, and our law enforcement friends outside the FBI are trying to keep schools safe. And it would be nice for them to know. It would be nice for us in Wisconsin to know what was this motivation. What were the plans? What did she do to plan this event to make our own kids safer here? But somehow we're not allowed to know that for some unknown reason, and we can only speculate. But it looks political to me.
It does. It looks very political, and it looks very political to a lot of folks. There's talk about, we've heard from sources and those behind the scenes and those speaking on the record that this could pose a real threat to a certain group of people, those sorts of things. That said, that's not an excuse or, an explanation for hiding this very critical information. And one of the things we found out, you can explain more on this because you looked up, you're looking at the statutes as they're written. The argument from the FBI and a similar argument from the Nashville Metro Police Department is that the investigation is ongoing. Well, the shooter in this case is dead. She died the day of this horrific incident. Thankfully, she was brought down by police, neutralized, so she could not kill more. How is this investigation ongoing, Dan?
Yeah, I don't know. I can't figure it out. The law says that the FBI can refuse to turn over a document if there's a pending or prospective law enforcement proceeding relevant to the request, and releasing the document would interfere with those proceedings. But you look at the case law and the cases about this, and proceedings means trial, indictment, investigation that could lead to trial or indictment. I've been a federal prosecutor. I've looked at this case and I don't know who they plan to indict here. By all accounts, it's a lone gunman, a lone shooter, and even the local PD in Nashville has made comments to the effect that this is done. The threat to the public is gone. If there is someone out there, they should come out and say that there's someone else they're looking for. But I don't think that's what's going on. I think what they say is that it's going to interfere with the proceeding. It's going to interfere with their narrative of what's going on. And we're not in the business of narrative building. We're in the business of transparency and protecting the freedom of press, and that's what you're about. And we're happy to protect your right as a member of the press, which gives the public access to the information they need to make decisions. And we shouldn't just let them off the hook so that they can sit on their narrative for another few weeks.
Exactly. And as your well-written appeal to the Department of Justice spells out, we have seen the FBI actually brag about releasing such documents, these sorts of manifestos. The Ted Kaczynski Unabomber case in the mid-1990s is a perfect case, is it not?
Yeah, there's a whole documentary about how the FBI worked with reporters and twisted the reporters' arms at the New York Times, in the Washington Post, and Penthouse magazine.
Yes, Penthouse. I thought that was interesting. Yes, Penthouse magazine. They want to get this into.
The FBI twisted the arms of the reporters so that they would publish the manifesto publicly. And there's you watch this documentary on Netflix or Hulu or wherever it is, and the FBI is bragging about this. But now all of a sudden we can't know, and it's not. I mean, it's very serious. I don't mean to make light of this because this is about public safety. It's about the safety of our schools, and it's about the policies we're going to have and the tools we're going to give law enforcement. And after every one of these major mass shootings, we as a country have adjusted how we behave, how we act. In Wisconsin, we passed a $100 million school safety initiative. where we hardened our schools. We did all these special things. We changed procedures. We do these code blacks now at schools. We didn't do that before the last school shooting back in 2015 that caused us to create the Office of School Safety. So these events inform us about how we can keep ourselves and our kids safe. And every day that goes by when the government's hiding information, it's making us less safe and less free, and less free as a people to make our own decisions.
Well, as the editor-in-chief and the CEO of the news organization that owns and operates the Star News Network said, this is so important, we believe, in the public interest, public knowledge, that we are willing to challenge the most powerful law enforcement agency in the country. I know that the Wisconsin Institute for Law and Liberty is in that battle as well, and quite frankly, we could not have a better ally in trying to shine some light on a very important subject. Thank you for your assistance on that front, and thank you for your time today.
You're welcome, and thanks for having me, Matt.
Absolutely. Thank you. Take care. That is Dan Lennington, Deputy Counsel for the Wisconsin Institute for Law and Liberty. Will is again making national headlines. This time, I'm glad to say, assisting this journalist and his news organization in a very, very important area. We need to get this information to the public. It is very, very important.